The Galactic Naval Academy's training deck fell silent as Admiral Xenosychological screech of pain echoed through the cavernous chamber. The towering Velthari officer stumbled backward, his primary manipulator arm bent at an impossible angle. Chitinous exoskeleton cracked and leaking blue fluid onto the pristine metal floor. Barris stood motionless in the center of the sparring circle, his human frame appearing almost diminutive compared to the assembled alien cadets and officers surrounding him. His dark eyes swept the crowd with predatory calm, settling on each face, some scaled, others feathered, a few with compound eyes that reflected the harsh training lights. "Who's next?" The question cut through the silence like a blade. Melissa watched from the observation deck above, her fingers gripping the railing until her knuckles went white. She had warned the Academy instructors about this. Humans didn't belong in standard combat training protocols. They were Deathworlders, products of a planet so hostile that evolution had forged them into something the galaxy wasn't prepared for. "Impossible," whispered Cadet Morlin, her crystalline skin shimmering with nervous energy. "The Admiral is a decorated war veteran. His exoskeleton can withstand plasma rifle shots." "And yet he grabbed a human by the collar," Melissa murmured, her voice carrying just enough to reach the nearby cadets. Fatal mistake. The confrontation had started simply enough. Admiral Xenosychological had been conducting his usual inspection of the new cadets, his 4 eyes scanning each recruit with the disdain typical of career military officers. When he reached Barris, the Admiral had paused, his mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among the Velthari. "So the famous Deathworlder," the Admiral had hissed, his translator rendering his words in perfect galactic standard. "I've heard tales of your species' supposed prowess. Primitive savages who think brute force can replace proper military discipline." Barris had remained at attention, saying nothing. His service record spoke for itself. Top marks in every category except plays well with others. The humans had only been part of the Galactic Union for 3 standard years, but their military candidates were already causing ripples throughout the established order. "Tell me, human," the Admiral continued, circling Barris like a predator. "What makes you think you belong among civilized soldiers?" "Permission to speak freely, sir?" Barris had asked, his voice level. "Granted. I don't think, sir." "I know." The Admiral's secondary arms had flexed with irritation. "Arrogance. Typical of your species. Perhaps some discipline is in order." That's when he made his mistake. The Admiral's primary manipulator had shot out, grasping Barris by the collar of his training uniform, intending to lift the human off his feet, a common dominance display among Velthari officers. The movement was faster than most species could track, but humans had evolved on a world where hesitation meant death. Barris's response was instinctual, honed by millions of years of surviving on humanity's hostile homeworld, and refined by Earth's military training. His hand had clamped down on the Admiral's wrist with crushing force. The sound of chitin cracking was audible even to those on the upper observation decks. Before the Admiral could react, Barris had twisted, using the alien's own momentum against him. The leverage was perfect, the execution flawless. The snap was sickening. Now as the Admiral clutched his ruined arm, the assembled cadets stared in shock. This wasn't supposed to happen. The hierarchy was clear. Officers were superior beings, cadets were subordinates to be shaped and molded. "Medic!" Someone finally called out, breaking the spell. As the medical team rushed to attend to Admiral Xenosychological, Commander Yulpass, a diminutive Kriya with iridescent feathers, stepped forward. Her small stature belied her authority as the Academy's chief training officer. "Cadet Barris," she said, her voice carrying the authority of absolute command. "Explain yourself." Barris snapped to attention. The Admiral initiated physical contact in what I perceived as a hostile manner, sir. I responded with appropriate defensive measures per Earth Military Protocol 77 Alpha. "Appropriate?" The Admiral gasped from where the medics worked on his arm. "You nearly severed my limb." "Sir, with respect," Barris replied, never breaking eye contact with the commander. "If I had intended to sever your limb, it would no longer be attached." The statement sent a collective shiver through the assembled cadets. This wasn't bravado. It was simple fact, delivered with the same tone one might use to comment on the weather. Melissa descended from the observation deck, her approach drawing attention. As the Academy's xenopsychologist, she had spent months studying human psychology and physiology. Her reports had been largely ignored. "Commander," she said, offering a respectful nod, "might I suggest we treat this as a learning opportunity?" Commander Yulpass's head tilted, a gesture of curiosity among her species. "Elaborate." Melissa gestured toward Barris, who remained rigidly at attention. "Humans evolved on what we classify as a Class 12 death world. Their entire species development occurred under constant threat from predators, environmental disasters, and resource scarcity. Their response time to perceived threats is approximately 40% faster than the galactic average, and their strength-to-weight ratio exceeds most military species by a factor of 3. She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. Admiral Zekthara's action, grabbing Cadet Barris by the collar, would have triggered every survival instinct evolved over millions of years of evolution. The human didn't attack. He defended himself. "I see," Commander Yulpass mused. "And the question he posed afterward?" "A dominance display," Melissa explained. Having established his position in the hierarchy through superior force, he was offering others the opportunity to challenge that position. It's actually quite civilized by human standards. The Admiral, his arm now stabilized by the medical team, glared at them both. "Are you suggesting that this assault was justified?" "I'm suggesting," Melissa said carefully, "that if you grab a human by the throat, you should expect consequences. They're predators, Admiral. Apex predators. And they've just joined our military." Barris finally spoke, his voice cutting through the tension. "Permission to address the Admiral directly, Commander?" Yulpass nodded. Barris turned to face the injured Velthari officer. "Sir, I harbor no ill will toward you. Your action was intended as discipline, not genuine threat. However, my species cannot distinguish between the two when surprised. If you wish to continue this training exercise, I respectfully suggest you understand what you're dealing with." He gestured to the circle of alien cadets surrounding them. "Every being in this room comes from a world that shaped them. You've all adapted to your environments, developed strengths and weaknesses accordingly. Earth shaped humans into something different. We don't surrender. We don't back down. And we certainly don't break easily." The human's gaze swept the assembled cadets once more. "So I ask again, who's next?" The silence stretched on, but it was different now. Not shocked or fearful, but contemplative. Slowly, a Thraxian cadet stepped forward, her serpentine form coiling with nervous energy. "I volunteer," she hissed, "but perhaps we could establish some ground rules first?" Barris smiled, the first emotion he'd shown since the incident began. "Of course. That's how civilized beings conduct themselves." As the crowd began to disperse and normal training resumed, Melissa watched the humans' integration into the Galactic Navy with new understanding. They wouldn't just be soldiers, they would reshape what it meant to be a warrior in the galaxy. The universe was about to learn what humanity meant when they said, "Come and take it."